Welcome back to Maker's Journey Workshop. I'm Benjamin Davies, and today we're going to make a towel bar to complete our bathroom set. If you haven't checked them out already, we've already got a video on how to make a toilet paper holder and how to make a hand towel ring. So all that's left is the towel bar. We'll break it down in a pretty easy way and make it out of one piece. There's a lot of curves in there that might look complicated to you at first, but I figured out a way over the years how to make this and replicate this with ease, and I'm going to show it to you here today. Did he forget again? Get out of here. Starting stock size, 3/8 by 3 feet long. All right, let's take a moment to talk about something real quick that I never realized that I was bad about doing until we started filming these things. And I'm trying to make sure I get several shots. And that way you can see it from different angles, and that way different perspectives are hopefully helpful to you. There are some really talented smiths out there that can do several steps in one heat. Love watching that. As I've grown as a smith, I've got to where I can gradually do more and more within one heat. If you're not there yet, go back to that fire as many times as it takes. Don't try to force it. Right there, our leaf was getting cold. Hammer blows are going to be futile because that metal's not going to be moving the way we want. We're just texturing as it cools down and maybe even making the metal more brittle and work hardening it. So we're going to go back to the fire and we're going to be able to spread that leaf much easier. Also, I was always wanting to spread that leaf as quick as possible, so I'd start working on the edges first. That is the total wrong way to do it. What you're going to do is you're going to sharpen your edges, and you're not going to really move the material. Try to focus on the middle, and you want to finish up around your edges and start radiusing your hammer blows outward to put some texture in it that's not just vertical, that's going back and forth. All right, let's finish up our leaf. All right, quick tip. Whenever I'm making these, sometimes I have to just draw a little arrow. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a little piece of soap right here on my vise. I use this bench vise a lot. It's massive. I like it. And so I'll just draw a little arrow. And that way it tells me as it's coming to me out of the vise which way I'm turning, left or right. It's just a little reference and one less thing I have to think about because I know how I want it to look as it sits on the wall. I want my leaf off to my left and I want the other end off to my right. But I need to make sure I set up my curve the right way. And as it's facing you backwards, you need to make sure that you're turning the right way. So that's what we're going to do right here. All right, so we've got that curved up. Now I want to put a place to where I can screw it. And we're going to do a little bob punch right here. I'm going to use a ball peen hammer for this. That's what I used when I started out. So I encourage you go get a sacrificial ball peen hammer or make sure you've got a sacrificial striking hammer. I know there's a lot of smiths that will make a big soft hammer and that way they can strike different tools without having to worry about the hammers. Sacrificial hammer. And it's just a better way. I like being able to see as I strike my tools instead of having to look down and chisel. Sometimes you need a chisel, sometimes you need a punch, and that's okay. But for me, it's a much better vantage point, and I feel a lot more relaxed whenever I can be out away from my work, and it gets your hands out of there. Oh, I forgot this too. I like to use my heavy hammer for punching. I talked about this in our video the other day when we were talking about building punches and drifts. And that's because it allows me to relax. And what I mean by that is I'm not sitting there trying to get some momentum and force behind my 2 to 3 pound hammer. I'm just doing like a light strike like I would when I center punch, and the hammer's doing most of the work. And then I build up as I start to get a groove worked out. Start in the center, start where you got some meat. Don't do it over here on this thin spot, and take your time. If you have to go back to the heat a couple times, do that. Don't worry, stay in the center, it'll spread. Here's my sacrificial ball peen hammer I bought years ago, and I chopped most of the top off, and it's just a cheap old drop forged hammer, and the handle's a little bit loose too, which on your top tools, you want a bit of a loose handle, and that way if you mislick, it's not just sending a big buck or shock up your arms. That's why always when you see guys when they're using top tooling, they'll strike a few times, they'll come out here and they're driving that back down on there, because the reality is it should be loose enough to where it eventually you can work it off. And so that's why the sets on these, the way that they're set, isn't meant to be secure and permanent. All right, think about your setup. I always try to prep my area before I come out of the fire and ready to work. I'm gonna walk up here, I'm gonna stick that piece in between my legs, hold it with my handy dandy crotch vise. Got this right here I can strike with, and then I can pick up my striker, my hammer, and I'm ready to go. So everything's set up to be able to move and groove with fluidity. All right, so we got this guy all forged up, and we went ahead and I cooled it down in water because I'm just doing one today. If I was doing several, I would do this part first, set them off to the side, let them cool on their own. This part will end up going back in the fire, so we won't have to worry about it ruining our drill bit or having trouble drilling it. It'll get softened back up. The reason I'm not going to go ahead and stick the curvature in it right now, that it'll need to get it away from the wall, because this will be the part that our towel hangs on, is because it's just less for me to wrestle as I'm trying to forge a taper on this end right here. As you start to make a piece and it's doing a lot of different things behind your grip, you're kind of wrestling that as you're trying to hit, turn, and we've already got this leaning off to one side, and so I'm just trying to make it easier on myself, and that's what we're going to do. For this next bit, we're just going to forge a taper, and that way we don't have a snub end. You can do all kinds of different stuff here. You can scroll it up. This is just the way that I've done towel bars in the past that's worked for me. Something to keep in mind is you don't want any sharp ends. Anything that anybody's ever going to touch or ever going to come into contact with, it can be the most beautiful design in the world. If it doesn't feel good in the hand, it's not typically going to do well as a product. So just keep that in mind. All right, we've got our bob punch in, and we went ahead and put a curve in it in the vise. And I use my ball peen hammer. It's got a pretty round face on it, and that way I'm not putting all kinds of teeth marks in the backside. And the reason we went ahead and did that is because we're ready to curve it up. The next part's pretty important, and it's so stinking easy. You're going to see this if you've not figured this out yet, and be like, "Wow, that's all." It's kind of like when a magician shows you his tricks. You're like, "Oh, well, that's a little anticlimactic," but it's just about the setup. So we're going to go over to the table. We're going to get set up, and going to go from there. For this, I don't measure it. I've done enough towel bars, and what I'm trying to look at is this space and this space right here, and that way I can kind of figure, can I fit a towel behind there without it, getting the wall damp? You do this enough times, you can do it by hand. If you're going to do tens or hundreds of these, make a tool, put it in a jig, repeat the process perfect every time. It's still going to look unique. So for the next part, just setting up this shot, all you need are a set of vice grips. These are the ones I'm going to use. Yes, they got teeth on them, but every time I try to put these on them in the past, these little swivel things, they pivot off to the left or right, and they create more havoc than the damage that ones with teeth might do. What are the concerns with the ones with teeth? Oh, they'll put tool marks in my work. Yeah, heat it back up, wire, brush it while it's hot, move on. It'll be fine. If that bothers you that bad, then file the teeth off, grind the teeth off. I've seen people modify these things endlessly. So yeah, don't worry about it. So that's all we're going to do here. I'm going to make sure I've got a pair that fit on this side and a pair that fit on that side. All right, the way to keep it from springing up right here. That's it. The next trick is, all right, it's been like 2 or 3 minutes. It's cooled down, but still going to burn ourselves if we touch that in. We're just forming up. And so I'm going to go up here and I'm going to unlock the first set of vice grips. It shouldn't move. Let's just find out. And so we're good to go. So now we got to do is drill those holes. We still got a little bit of rust left here because this was, some patina to perfection metal off the back rack. Put it back in the fire, heat it up. It'll burn it off, it'll scale it off. And that completes our bathroom sets. You don't have to make bathroom sets this way. It's just a way that we made starting out, and I love this organic style of forging. All right, we got our towel bar all finished up. If you want to know how we finish these leaves and get our finish on this, check out this video right here. Yep, it's the matching toilet paper holder to this, and we kind of go through that process and tell you what kind of color we put on here, why, and where you can get it to. All right, that's all we got for today. Highly encourage you, get out there, make a set that matches, figure out a set that you like that works for you. You're welcome to have this one. I don't really sell this style anymore, and it's a fun way to start out. Love forging organic shapes. It's just so forgiving as a beginner. All right, y'all, thank y'all for being here, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.